thinking. But should we tell everyone what the
absolutely. Why the rumor, why it's coming, and top 5 reasons why we believe there will be an iPad 7-inch. Is that better? iPad 7-inch.
That's the reason why he believes it.
Steve Jobs' emphatic statement resounded all over the web, proclaiming Apple as your savior when it came to using tablets. Jobs claimed that a 7-inch just wouldn't do and promptly dismissed Apple will ever enter into that space. Of course, now Jobs is no longer present, and with pressure mounting by competitors Kindle Fire and Nexus 7 looming over the horizon, Apple may yet be forced to take a drastic step to come back into the game. If we take the Job era Apple out of the equation, what it leaves us with is Apple facing stiff competition in the form of Kindle Fire and Nexus 7. The battle here is not of hardcore specs but of pricing. The Fire right now retails for $199, which is way cheaper than the iPad. The only negative comments stem from the forked version of Android. Well, Google has you covered there, with the Nexus 7 retailing at exactly the same price as the Kindle, with beefier specs and a pure Android Jelly Bean experience. This looks to be the tablet closest to giving the new iPad stiff competition.
So I already have a huge Apple collection, so I would love to add one.
I'd buy it. I would. I mean, it's for half the price. As such, the iPad for, people like us is going to be hard to carry around. We can just keep it in a bag like this as well, and probably going to have the same properties as an iPad does.
Well, now that we have heard what the public consensus is, let's take a look at some of the reasons why we think there may be an iPad mini. The first has to be the price point. Apple knows this is where most tablets will be competing with it. The major competition will come after Apple on price point, so they need a device which will help them compete. The second, the fact is Apple still hasn't stopped production of the iPad 2, so it knows that many people cannot afford its top-of-the-line product. Hence a mini with half the price will make sense. The third, Apple has to compete with devices such as the Galaxy Note, which was a runaway hit, and the next iPhone may not sport such a large display, hence the need for something in between the iPad and the iPhone. The fourth, Apple is no longer the de facto standard when it comes to tablets, and it cannot afford to have new devices not coming to market. It needs to stay relevant with the times. And finally, the fifth, well, let's just say Steve Jobs hated the 7-inch form factor. Maybe this is Tim Cook's way of saying that he has his own vision of where Apple should go. And maybe the Mini is the perfect answer to critics who say Apple isn't very flexible with their products. How will Apple respond? Well, if this is the Apple we have known in the recent years, they won't. Apple doesn't like to enter existing markets but rather create their own and leave other companies in their wake. But will Apple bend to market pressure and deliver for the first time something that is designed to compete with what the competition has to offer? Do they compromise on something that the legendary Steve Jobs put to stone? Well, here's what's funny about the tech industry in general. Anything is possible. We have seen promises being broken in the past, and this is no exception. This might be Apple's way of salvaging its own ego and ignorance for far too long, and finally paying heed to the competition and treating them as equals. But this kind of angry retaliation is not what made Apple what it is today. Constant innovation and research is what landed them the #1 spot. If they build themselves an ego fortress doing it, well, they earned it. So in the end, we are not sure how Apple will launch the Mini or if they will launch one at all, but I think we can all agree that the coming months are going to be exciting.